The Lincoln Project, I'm sure you have all heard of them, is an organization of Republican voters or Republican individuals who are no longer on board with the Republican Party as it currently stands. And so they've gotten a lot of prominence through some really good ads that they put out and some really prominent attacks against Trump himself. They're kind of known as anti-Trump Republicans, but they've gone deeper than that. And now they kind of go after a lot of these dangerous Republicans. So I know people have really mixed feelings on the Lincoln Project, which I understand. And this isn't a wholesale endorsement of every single person who works for that organization or the whole organization itself. But I do think in general, it's good to encourage people, right, left, or center, who want to call out dangerous elements of this movement to do so. I don't have to think you're an amazing person, but if you're going to do something that will definitely help the future of our country, which is calling out dangerous actions from this movement and creating really effective ads, as I'm about to show you, to do so, I'm all for it. So here's an ad by the Lincoln Project that I thought was really, really good.
Big government. The heavy hand of bureaucracy. Federal spies looking into your bedroom, your bank account, and your browsing history. Taking away your power, your decisions, your privacy. Rewriting the Constitution. Destroying American traditions. Promoting violence against us. Putting a bounty on our daughters. Breaking our schools. Making healthcare more expensive. And keeping help from our injured veterans. That's not patriotic. That's not conservative. That's not America. You may not think that's what you represent, but if you vote with them, it is.
So that the ending part is what really got me, because as I've said on the show many times, I grew up around a lot of conservatives and I currently have relationships with lots of conservatives. Sorry, if you can hear, you may not be able to, but there's a really loud noise going on in the background, just a washing machine situation. I don't know why there's like an alarm connected to my washing machine, but there is. Okay. And so I think calling out specifically and encouraging current Republican voters to think about the fact that, listen, you may not like to believe that you support the worst elements of this movement, but if you're voting for them, you are a part of a dangerous movement. So what I like to remind people in my life about is you don't have to think of yourself as some raging progressive to stand against Trump, to stand against the dangerous MAGA movement. You can be someone who still believes in quote unquote small government, whatever you believe that to mean, who still believes in family values, again, whatever you think that to mean, who doesn't think we should have universal healthcare, and stand against Trump simultaneously, right? And because we live in a very, two-party system, you kind of only have one option if you want to stand against Trump. Now, I think, and when I say Trump, I mean him and the movement he represents. I think if you're not going to vote for a Democrat, then at least vote for third party or don't vote or something like that, or go in and I think just the act of voting is important to be a part of that process. But if you don't want to vote for one of the candidates that has a chance of winning, you could always write in someone's name, whatever it is. But do something active to stand against a really dangerous movement who is threatening much of what we value within this country. The one that I always focus on, even though they outlined a few there, is the democratic process, because I think a lot of issues there's large disagreement on, but there shouldn't be any disagreement on the fact that Donald Trump, I mean, obviously, if you think the election was stolen, then I can't help you. But if you don't, then we can all agree Donald Trump attempted to overturn the 2020 election. And that is an action that poses a massive threat to our democracy and our democratic processes. And so if you believe in America as a country that listens to the voice of its people in some form or another through our voting and through our democratic processes, then you should stand against the MAGA movement. You should stand against people like Ron DeSantis, like Greg Abbott, as they showed in that ad. And of course, against people like Trump. And I think too many Republicans don't do that, even though in their heart of hearts, they know that those individuals in that movement is dangerous. And so one of the things I said, I was talking to somebody and they said, I would really love to see Mike Pence or Liz Cheney or someone like that run for president in the Republican Party. And I said, yeah, that'd be cool, and I'm fine with them doing it, but be warned, they could never win in the current Republican Party. And the person I was talking to said, but why? Like, don't you think that a lot of people could get on board with someone like that? Because they still are conservative, but a little bit more reasonable. And again, this isn't me endorsing those two individuals, but it is to say that they're more reasonable than Trump per se. So, or as an example. And so what I pointed out was we have this phenomenon where, moderate Republicans will go along with the really radical candidate. Radical Republicans won't go along with the moderate candidate. So in a lot of these races, if the radical candidate wins the primaries, moderate candidates will suck it up and go vote for them. But as we saw with Laura Loomer, a lot of times when the moderate prevails, the radicals say don't support them. Radical voters don't vote for them. And so you set up a situation where the Republican Party has to be radical. Otherwise, it can't combine those two blocks of people. So it's on the moderate Republicans to do what the radical Republicans do, which is say, if our candidate doesn't prevail, we're not going to support the other one. And too many moderate Republicans don't do so. To me, they are definitely going against the principles by quote unquote sucking it up and voting for somebody like Trump, which you saw tons of people do so in 2016, 2020. And they say, listen, I know Trump's pretty bad, but he's better than the Democrat, or at least he's a Republican. No. Right now is a pivotal moment in American history. And I beg each and every one of those Republicans that I'm talking about to be on the right side of this story.